Yeah, there we go.
There we go. They missed all of our shenanigans.
You missed the shenanigans. Oh no. Oh, you left your phone. Yeah, so we were supposed to catch Vanillites today. But turns out it wasn't community day. And I literally stepped outside. I was like on the phone with Molly before Camden got there. So like I could have known it too. If Molly hadn't called me to ask about taxes.
It's all Molly's
It's
fault.
all Molly's taxes fault. She was just like, do you know this payroll company? Like, which one does this do? I don't recognize this payroll company. I'm like, I know that one. I can help you.
Yeah.
So I'm like on the phone with her, and then I went downstairs, and I get downstairs, and I like load it up, and I'm like, why do I see a Numel on the map?
Why are they not
like,
all
why is it not
ice cream cones?
And that's because I was wrong. I was wrong. But in fairness to me, like, I knew that Vanilla Community Day was this month.
Yeah.
And the people that I was doing raids with last weekend were like, oh, Vanilla Community Day. And they were like kind of talking about it like it was next weekend. Or rather this weekend.
Yeah.
So I was like convinced. I was truly convinced it was this weekend.
Right. And then
I was wrong. And then I was dead wrong. But then we got coffee, and then we went to Target.
Yeah, we did a whole bunch of stuff.
We did. We went to
Shall we show the class
our
creations?
art? Okay, my creation has taken far longer to do because it was a several week process.
1 minute. Oh shit.
And then I almost died.
For sure.
And then I almost tripped over my cat because he didn't move.
For sure.
But
Look at Allegra's painting.
I did a paint by numbers.
Stunning. Gorgeous. Beautiful.
I feel like I appreciate how this looks from here because when I'm doing it, I'm always looking at it like so close. I never actually get a bird's eye view of it.
And I
did
a little pixel
Charizard. Or Charmander. Not Charizard. What am I doing?
Look at how cute.
He's so cute.
This is the most precious freaking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Very cute. Yeah, so it's so funny. I took that photo and I immediately FaceTimed Christian. He's not here right now. He's at his best friend's house. And I was just like, I need you to know what Milo did. And, yeah.
We're besties. Me and my.
It's not perler art. It's this like
it's
mega
like
block.
Legos.
It's mega blocks. It's little Legos.
Yeah.
So not perler art, but fun.
Yeah. So fun.
You should. I know Nico. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, he knows.
He knows. He knows.
I hurt my arm.
Oh no.
I hurt my arm doing that. Ow. Oh, this is undoing all the work I'm doing.
Oh gosh.
Ugh. You should post that we're doing this too. I don't know, like how do people know you're live?
I literally just pressed the button. I took a little break from social media.
You're so real for that. Hold on. Because boy, haven't I as well.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me do it this way. I think if you do the thing.
I can do a story.
Mina is playing story.
Is she?
She is.
That we love.
Good. She can tell people that I did record.
You did.
Yeah, Chaos Twins real, not clickbait.
Hold on,
That's
I need to catch
Pokemon
this.
Go.
No, I know.
That's Pokemon
There's
Go.
a Vulpix. I need Ninetales coins.
I'm just like,
no,
hey.
Hold on. Let me do a little swish and flick.
God. I'm like, ooh, pull open your Twitch and say that you're live with me.
No, I will.
This bitch had to catch a Vulpix.
Vulpix has never been in any of. It's just like today.
No,
today there
Vulpix
are Vulpixes.
is around. Vulpix is around.
No, this bitch is MIA through everything. Okay, now here's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna.
Wait, actually,
no,
I think
go
I
to
need to
go to Twitch.
Like,
yeah.
I need to do that.
Yeah, you can say that we're collabing.
I'm an influencer, right?
But no, but like not even just that. You have to do the thing. Like, you know, when we do a collab and our chats touch, if you knock on my stream, then I can let you in.
I can do that?
Yeah, that's how, like, when Mina says that
Okay,
she's, like, when she's not live, but she collabs anyway.
Okay.
That way people know you're live with me.
We're live on...
This priority straight. You know what? I'm going to click on it. Our food's almost here.
Is it... I'm so excited.
He's getting mozzarella sticks. That's all he wants.
I am getting mozzarella sticks. Is it just SimplyAllegra?
Yeah, SimplyAllegra, yeah.
Also tag on these? Like that?
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm a streamer.
Women.
I'm catching Vulpix so we can trade them. Yes. But this is not the content of the stream, I promise.
No.
I am just waiting for someone
Yeah?
to get
Hold
his
on,
shit together.
I need to get it like nice and even.
Oh my god. Thank you. Oh my god, thank you for gifting that sub.
So sweet.
We love it.
Okay, I posted a thing.
Okay.
And now how do I
Yes.
I'm confused.
Okay, so you go over
Because I've never done
to
stuff
moi.
like on Twitch on my phone. You know what I'm saying? Can you also can you stream from your phone?
I think so.
That's
Hold on.
crazy.
How do you
knock,
do
knock,
it?
knocking
Share
on
link to-
Allegra's door.
Hold on. Oh no, an ad.
Oh, not the ad.
Not the ad. We're trying to get you to knock.
Knock.
Wait, can you do it from mobile?
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, can I?
This is annoying. Maybe if you do it from profile. No, shut the fuck up. I'm going to your profile here.
Okay.
Maybe stream manager?
Yeah. Ooh,
We're
the
gonna
tour.
we're skipping it though. I ain't got time
It
for
should
that.
be.
My channel schedule. How do you do it from mobile?
Is anyone else? Is anyone a streamer?
Oh no, because you're a streamer. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I got.
Oh.
I'm big brain.
Yeah.
Maybe this will work. I don't know.
You collab with me.
If I send you the link.
Yeah.
Yes.
The lingui?
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, it looks like I do have to go to you.
You go on your
I'm in your balls. I go here.
Cute.
I go.
For visiting we.
Oh, I can't go knock.
No, I think you can do. You need to go to your stream manager. That's where I usually see it. Do you have to be?
I don't know.
Creator dashboard.
Yeah, maybe.
Do that, and then I usually see it like on that side.
On this
Yeah,
side?
collaborators. Down.
Collaborators. Yes.
Yes, and then.
Oh no, that's just me adding a favorite.
No, why am I not your favorite right now?
Because I never added anyone, but
Rude.
I know because I suck.
Messy.
I know.
I have you and Molly and Mina as my recommended channels on my.
I
homepage.
see all suggested favorites. I gotta
Okay,
add
okay.
Molly. Okay. Wait, why?
I think if you.
Whisper.
Do I have to be-
Invite.
Oh,
Invite.
Stop it.
Okay.
Oh.
And did it work?
Oh. Join we. Stream together mobile.
Yes. Continued. Oh no.
I think I have to be live.
No,
I know.
you shouldn't
Mina did that
have
before.
to. Don't allow. Hold on. Not now. Join backstage.
Ah,
Not now. Join backstage. What?
I think it has to be live we.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Should I stream from my phone?
No. That's silly.
That is.
You shouldn't have to in order to get this to work. I invited you to join the stream. Yes, leave. Hold on. I'm going to try it this way instead.
Did it show up, kind of?
No, you didn't show up in the thing.
Try
Which is what I need. I need the
add human.
There we go. Invite guests. I'm going to do it as a link.
Oh, the links. The links are where it's at.
Links. Scuff twins. I'm not Scuff.
I am.
I'm not. I've just never done it from here before. Oh, hold on.
I
cool.
happily accept that title for myself.
I know. I normally know what I'm doing. We've never had to do this from mobile before. There we go.
Discord we?
There we go. By the way, you hung up before I could turn you back up and thing. Yeah.
Not
join
me
session.
Be messy.
No. Join live stream.
Has invited you. How does it look on there if it's like this, though? On that other, like, small window?
I don't see it. It just shows me. Settings, no.
What hath thou known?
Wait, why do I have that? That's weird. Session settings. Reshare.
For
shared chat. Collaboration settings. Hold on.
Okay.
No, it's just saying I can pause collabs, which can't do that.
Never.
Can't do that.
Nuh-uh.
Wait, notifications. Oh, apparently I am now eligible, probably because I've
for what?
Looked at things, like for condensed ether. Probably because you were streaming.
Fun.
It was like, do you want this? I'm like,
Take it.
Here, let me go to help.
Not the drops.
Help and FAQ.
Okay.
Help.
Hi, how's it going?
No, we're good.
Welcome on
good.
in.
We're good. Add video, show call on stream. I just want it to be like
one person live,
one person live, and one person like mentioned.
Yeah.
I wonder if
I
did this, if that would help somehow.
Hold the phone.
Guys, it's not, seeing the repeated Scuff Twins thing is not helping right now. Yes, I mentioned him in my title. I just don't know if it's going to make any. What I want to do is I want to do a notification so that his followers know that we're here. Like, that's what I want to happen.
I could post some pictures of us on Twitter.
Yeah, but it's
with
I
come join link to Allegra's stream.
It's not that so much as like I know that like when Mina joins the way that she joins, it's specifically you can have Camden log in on an incognito tab on computer and have him knock that way. Oh, that works.
Interesting.
That works. Okay. Do you remember any of your login?
I guess we'll find out.
Oh no. All right.
Okay.
Found the stream from the story. That's good. Okay. It worked.
Look at that.
It worked.
You don't need to close your eyes.
I'm not gonna look at your password. I'm being polite.
Oh my gosh, it's so respectful.
I know. I'm just a respectful bitch.
Okay, let's see if this one. Oh.
Did it work?
Nope. Let's see if this one works. Oh,
That's
okay.
real. That's real.
Cool.
Did it work?
Wait, and I need my passcode.
Oh, there we go.
That. I think. Me thinks. Me succeeds.
Yes. Okay. So now, hopefully, you have Get started.
Let's get it started.
Cancel.
In here.
There we go. So yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this should work.
But like, what does that mean?
It just means that like you should live with Camden now. So like when you go, I guess now when I do this, if I go to your Twitch, does it now show our thing?
Let's find out.
Check out Mina. That's not.
That's messy.
That's messy.
That's messy.
That's so messy, bitch. Wow.
Not it promoting because she's a streamer.
Because she's a streamer.
But at least it says live with the camera.
You know
what does it say on yours? On mine? Go back to the incognito one. Or did you close it? Go to yours.
To go to mine, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
See what that looks like.
Oh.
What's this
With
say?
Camden. Oh, there.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Streaming together.
Plus one,
Plus
yeah.
one? Yeah, see?
So you can join the stream. You're already in it.
Oh.
Okay, regardless, I think we managed to kill enough time for. Oh, yeah. The milk tea's here.
Yes.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh. Is it time?
See it on Camden's profile? Good.
Cute.
There. Let me call downstairs.
Sounds good.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Hallo. I am Allegra Clark.
Are you Allegra Clark now?
I am.
Show more tit.
This is a very high shirt.
Hi, it's Allegra. Can you put my order?
Hi guys. Hi Allegra's chat. How's it going? What are we all doing? Because you're a streamer. Okay, I'll hold down the fort. Don't you worry.
Nico, are you still here?
Meow. Meow. My. The baby. He's so precious.
Yeah.
Your baby.
Alright. Go to the elevator.
I miss the baby. He's so cute, you guys. Did he max out the Star Rail event? Oh, which one? They got a lot. I'm doing the little like Monopoly simulator thing. The World event. Speaking of World, Nintendo Switch 2. Are we getting that? Because I want to get Mario Kart World. I'm so excited. There hasn't been another new Mario Kart since 2014, which I found out was from 2014, not 14 years ago. It's been 11 years. You know, I never said that I was the best at mathematics. So, Tamagotchi life. I'm like, I do want to get it, but here's the thing. I'm like, I want the Nintendo Switch 2 to be in the Animal Crossing Special Edition Switch 1 colors. You know what I'm saying? And also, where's Double Dash on the GameCube? Nintendo Pass Online, right? And where's the Game Boy Advanced Pokemon games on the Game Boy Advance simulator on Nintendo Switch? You know what I mean? It's funny seeing Camden in a chair stream that's not his. Right? You know, it's like a little takeover. We're swapping places. Like, you guys came here for Allegra, and you got me. You can make little vinyls. Oh, but I don't want the vinyls. I want it to be the cute little, you know, blue and green one. Camden should voice in Fire Emblem just to get another universe of Chaos Twins for Allegra and Camden. I would love that. I would also love to voice in Fire Emblem with Allegra. I feel like that would be very cool. Hi!
Yeah!
Everyone's wanting us, and by everyone, one person.
Okay, wanting us to do what?
Wanting us to voice in more projects together. They were like, Camden should be in Fire Emblem just to get more universes with Allegra.
Yeah, I want that too.
I love the color of that.
They really were like...
They knew.
They knew.
They knew.
They really knew.
It
They
matches.
were like, this bitch loves that color.
I know.
I don't think...
But yeah, we're both in Dark Deity too.
We
Which,
are.
fun fact, that is live now if
And-
anyone wants to check it out.
And it was directed by Molwy.
By Malwi.
We should actually probably switch so I can control the mouse.
Right, I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing over here.
Ordinarily I would sit here and be absolutely fine with it, but because we are doing specific
Things.
browser things. both of our shirts. Oh yeah, it's not
It
like
kind of matches. It's
kinda.
like, you know, within the same family.
It's within the same family. Oh.
Thank you.
Uh,
I love. I love ranch. I love ranch and I love cheese, and this is both of those. And I love chocolate.
Just like the way I could make Camden happy by just going like we're ordering. I was like, so
She said boba and I said cheese sticks.
is that the place where the mozzarella sticks are from? And I was like, maybe.
Maybe.
So my stomach has been in shambles.
For sure.
So earlier I was like, you know, I've got to be playing it really safe. So, fuck.
I'm obsessed with this.
Oh my god.
This is such a good sandy.
Isn't it?
It's probably like one of my favorites.
I was like, you know, hey, we're definitely going to have to, because the boba place we order from, where he gets his thing, I get these like ham and cheese taiyaki, which when my stomach is in rough shape is actually like good because it's like has the starch and it has like a little bit of like protein to it and everything, and it tastes good. So I love it. So I was like, when we order boba, I definitely need this.
Whenever I hear the word boba now, I don't think of boba. I think of cheese.
It's insane.
In stick form.
Oh my god, wait, this is so funny. Look, it's like folded. So it's like all on this side.
That's interesting.
And the rest is just dough. It's not normal.
Muy interesante.
Delicious. So,
Interesante. Oui. Yeah, tell the class, what are we doing? Wait, this has such a nice crunch to it. Hold on.
God. Wait.
Hold on.
Not ASMR on my good Christian channel.
Wait. This
So-
is good.
We're on our Pokemon bullshit as usual.
For sure, but first.
No!
Is everyone ready for... Is everyone ready for... Do you watch Amazon?
No, I can't. So,
Wait,
I'm taking
wait.
it. No!
The
people don't
people
want-
want to hear the crunch.
Your mom doesn't, so
I know. Absolutely.
don't let Camden ASMR. Everyone's
gonna-
saying no.
Everyone wants to
Literally
hear,
the
they want to hear the
chat.
crunch.
No! Enjoy your own crunch.
Who doesn't want to hear the crunch of cheese?
Literally, everyone is saying no. I need you to know.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying no. Yep, I have misophonia as well. That's why I can't do ASMR. It's really bad, so like specific sounds. Not Fonziel doing kill. Yeah, don't do ASMR stream. So anyway, we're on our bullshit. I didn't actually pitch this to Camden, but I know he's gonna like it.
Really?
We're going to this Pokemon Fusion generator. So what it's going to do is it's going to fuse two Pokemon into a new Pokemon, create a sound and a name for it. And I think it's everything that's in PokeGo because it says Niantic. So
Love that.
no, that's just an actual generator. Here we go. So I know Keel is the most important one.
It's the most wonderful time.
Why is it taking so long?
That is a good question.
It loaded before. I'm having whoa, that pull.
I was like, when is it gonna stop pulling?
All right. Oh, fuck. Don't do it. Okay. Fusion generator. No.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Are we ready? Let me make sure the browser audio is going to come from the right place. Oh, no. Here we go. There we go. Because we want to make sure the chat can hear it as well. Right. Bomb us know when you... Look at it.
I am, that's the problem.
Oh no, he's hot!
No, Camden.
Yeah. My two favorites. Wait, you can choose? Okay. Ninetales Latios.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I want to know what this looks like, but
We're gonna find out. I thought they were Gen... Oh, that. There. There we go. I was still technically in Gen 2. I was so confused. I was like, it's Gen 3. Where is it?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh god.
Obama 2. Oh. I can type it in as well. Thank you, Surfing Raichu. All right.
Move, I'm gay.
It kind of looks like Cresselia.
Kind of. Let's see it reversed.
Oh.
That's kind of a vibe.
Better.
That's kind of a vibe.
That's kind of a vibe.
Honestly?
Not bad, right?
Wait. We're going with two other favorites.
Okay, go. Hey, more passion, more passion, more passion, more energy, more energy, more footwork,
And-
more footwork, more footwork, more passion, more energy.
We're going to see what happens when the babies are fused.
Right?
All right? That's perfect. That's perfect. Close, swallow, close your mouth. It's disgusting.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping,
It's so
spectacular,
Wait,
never the same,
slut.
totally unique, completely not ever been done before.
Hold on. I want to see the other way.
Me too. Oh.
Almost.
I mean,
If that lined up better.
If it lined up better, I think that it would be perfect.
If it lined up better, holy shit. Wait, what's the evolve button?
Both of their next forms. Stop.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's cute.
I like it. All right, all right.
Not again.
Because they all have three forms. Yeah.
Oh. Oh. Okay. Kind of.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. He looks like he's wearing a sweater.
He does. I'm gonna go back to Asha and Sfeel. But I have to reverse it. There we go. Yes! That's perfect.
Yeah,
Honestly, this is the perfect baby right here.
I agree.
I want to see the evolutions now from this direction. Yeah, I want this plushie, honestly. Handmade fusions would be insane. I think these are computer generated. That's fucking amazing. That's fucking hilarious. That's hilarious. Wait, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
That's wild.
I need to, like, go backwards. I need to be able to, like, go backwards. Let's see. What the fuck? That's so... Oh my god. No, we need to go back to the baby. I just want to go back to it because it makes me happy. Okay, so I think what we need to do now
Yeah.
is we need to pick random Pokemon, knowing that it'll have Spheel's face.
For it.
For it. This is going to be...
The cutest thing ever.
All right. This is it. This is Camden's weakness over here. It's blue!
That's cool.
Wait, let's go. Oh my god, Reshiram Speel. This is the best way to do it. We keep Speel, we do Reshiram. The other way is to have any Pokemon and then Ditto over here. Oh my god. Oh, what's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen? Oh, Rowlet and Speel. We gotta check that.
That's cute. That's funny.
Oh my god. Stone. Wait, it's the fact that everything starts with a sf that makes it even better. Stone.
I love it's just his little face. Like
Duraludon. Oh, this is gonna be goofy. Like, hi, I'm a skyscraper. Doink.
What's like the most opposite of Spheal?
Wait, we can do Therian Landorus. Oh my god.
That is beautiful.
It's a
Majestic,
masterpiece.
you might say.
Hold on. Oh, Gen 9 is locked. Boo.
What?
Wait, what if we did Necrozma?
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's it. This is everyone's nightmare. This is everyone's Yes.
Steelix.
Okay. Wait. Guzzlord first. This is very important
This
to me.
is gonna be great. That's majestic.
You know what Guzzlord's yell is in the anime, right?
You showed this to me, and I
And it's
forgot.
good every time.
Yeah.
Lord, scream. And it's good every time. And it's good every time. Now
That's
look at that.
beautiful.
Now look at that.
That's gorgeous.
Oh, that's gonna be pretty good. It's just big, strong conkeldurr with the little guy face.
So cute. Oh, this is gonna be beautiful.
Haxorus, let me see.
Snack.
This neck and that is insane.
That's beautiful. Oh.
Oh! That's excellent. No notes. No notes. Wait. Now we gotta check. We have to check the roundest boy. We have to do the roundest boy right now. No, I need Gen 7. There we go. No.
Oh.
Oh my god, that's perfect. Oh. That's so weird.
That is cute.
That's so weird, and he's got a little booty.
Okay, wait. What Pokemon do you hate the most? Was it Durant or?
Oh,
is
it's
that
up there. It's up there.
do you
Durant is
hate
up
the
there.
most?
Hold on, wait. This is
Oh,
gonna,
this would be
this is
cute.
gonna be really good. That's it. That's it. That's it.
That's all you need.
Actually, perfection. The only way this could potentially be better is to see Electrode, but simultaneously. See, it's just a bigger face.
yeah.
I kind of prefer the previous.
little
Hold
bit.
on. Now,
Oh.
not as good.
No, definitely a little scary.
Perfection.
Beautiful.
Larger ball. Oh my god, wait, Meloetta.
Oh. Diva.
Sveta.
Sveta.
Oh my god. No, you don't understand. I'm love she so much.
Which is so cute.
Now her with Spheal face. Wait. Oh wait, this one is gonna be Meloetta on Spheal's body. Hold on.
Oh.
That was less good than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That was less good. Let's go back. We're gonna go back. Great. That's so great. Sfeel and Leafeon. Oh, that's gonna be good. I can type. Leafeon, oui.
That's kind of cute.
That's kind of cute. If the face scaling had worked a
Yeah.
little better, it would be perfect. Let's check the other direction, just because I'm curious.
Oh, okay.
Wait, literally any of the evolutions this way. Hold on, let's try Sylveon. Not because she's my favorite or anything. Wait, that's kind of great. That's kind of fantastic.
Love her.
I love her.
Ew.
I dig it.
Kind of stunning.
Sfeel and Magneton, happily. Happily. I am so happy to take. Yes!
They're so cute. There's 3 of them.
You were so right, TND Jax. Holy shit. Holy shit. Because I can't do it from here. Someone please gift TND Jax a sub for this, because that was perfection. Someone please do it. Yeah, I'll check execute next.
Oh.
Because that's potentially even more if it goes properly.
If it goes according to plan. Oh!
There's so many.
The Duo?
Doduo.
Doduo.
Yeah. Oh, Doug Trio is also gonna be
Doug
good.
Trio.
But let's do
Women.
Doduo first, and then we'll go for Dodrio after as
And then,
well.
like, Diglett.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's pretty solid.
fuzzy.
That's pretty solid. Yeah, he is fuzzier.
He's fuzzy.
That's even fuzzier. Well, technically, Sfeel is a little fuzzy. It's just like the way that like
Really?
a little bit. Yeah.
It seemed like he'd be like a slippery kind of guy.
I want to say that when they did some of the like stop motion Sfeels and like really CG animated Sfeels, they were kind of fuzzy. Let's check Dodrio as well, because that should be even more.
Oh. Okay.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Hold on. Whoop. Wait, before we do that, hold on.
Oh.
Oh, the wings
Oh.
being missing is weird.
A
The
little
wings,
bit.
it needs the wings. It needs the wings, but like
But I
otherwise,
see where it's going.
Yeah, the vision is
Yeah.
almost here. There's like it's almost here. And thank you, I missed it, but who gifted Tandy Dax that sub? Ace, thank you. Just, you know what? If it had the wings, perfection.
What about like Venomoth?
I don't know if the wings are gonna show up for them. Let's check Pidgeot. No, I think maybe Pidgeotto has the wings out. Yeah, there we go.
Oh!
Okay, that's a vibe. That's a vibe. Wait.
Yes. What? Bitch. Bit!
I did it. I did it. I did it.
Perfection.
I did it. I really created the perfect Pokemon right there. Like, I
Wait,
think that's
wait,
the
wait.
perfect Pokemon.
Could you do, fuck.
Kind of scary looking?
Wait.
No.
Can you do,
Perfect.
like,
Blue.
can you try, like, Wooper here and Sfeel there?
Hold on. Let me continue down this tread really quickly. I had to try it with Altaria. I wish I could try it with Mega Altaria, but
Damn. Oh!
I dig it. I dig it.
Kind of cute.
Okay. I'm gonna put Whoop here.
Cute.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Don't worry, I'll get to Doug Trio, but oh my god. Oh my god.
Cute, right?
Oh my god. Now we're gonna try this.
Switch it.
Swipper. Let's try the other way around.
I knew I was gonna love that. I knew I was gonna love that. Woofeel.
I'm never gonna go back. That's so good. That's so good. Okay. We gotta do Doug Trio, because this is gonna be good. This is
For
gonna be
sure.
really good.
It must.
Oh, hell yes. Rowlet fused with Spheal. I'll go back to it. We did that before, and it was so good. Snom. Oh, wait, Snom is going to be good, too. Wait, let's go back to Rowlet.
Okay.
It's just, he's such a gentleman. He's just such a gentleman.
Cool.
I want to try, no, it wouldn't let me do a Alolan Doug trio. No, this is superior. Now, how do I get secret code for something that access to all content? How do I get the code to unlock everything? I wonder. I have an idea. Thank you for the raid, Purple Pen Case. Mimikyu. Oh my god. Okay.
Whoa.
That's so good.
I like that.
That's really good.
This is giving me like Kingdom Hearts vibes.
Oh my god, you're so real for that.
Right?
Okay. I'm seeing Spheal plus Meowth, Spheal's and Ekans.
Okay, wait. I kind of want to see either Steelix or Onyx.
Okay, let's.
I feel like that would be
Togedemaru is going to be really good. But let's see Steelix first. This is a Camden request. That Spheal face is so big. Oh, Phalanx could be fun.
Okay.
You know which one Phalanx is? Hold on.
Let me see.
Oh, is it not?
Fit.
It's supposed to be Gen 8. Oh, it's because I turned off Gen 8. That's why.
Rude.
I accidentally turned it off while I was trying to do something. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Could have been better. Honestly,
it's
could
kinda
have been
giving
better.
Me like Human Centipede vibes.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, let's not. Let's not. Okay, we got to go back to Meowth. That was one that we missed.
Okay.
That's pretty good. I want to see the Meowth face on Spheal. Hold on. That's pretty good too, honestly. Like, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. All right, I see. Hold on. Let me go back. Let me go here. I'm going to put in Cosmog. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Cool.
Oh, that's good. We have Lyra. I'm going to go back to Wooper right now. Lyra's favorite Pokemon is Wooper. The number one celebrant of Wooper Wednesday. It's excellent. It is excellent. The other way around isn't as good, but this way is perfect.
Honestly,
This is
I appreciate how derpy the face is the other way around.
Yeah, we'll show it.
That's kind of
It's pretty derpy, but like this is perfect. This is genuinely
That's stunning.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, Staryu. That's an
I was
interesting
kind of wondering that,
one.
actually.
Like, we gotta
thinking
find
Starmie.
some ones that are gonna be very silly too.
Oh.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Wait. What would it look like the other way around?
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no. Go back. Oh. Okay. Wait. I gotta do Snom. Because Snom is just a baby. Snom is a little guy.
Oh! That's kind of cute. Okay,
I'm
wait.
kind of digging it, honestly.
Someone says Ponyta.
Ponyta. Oh, yeah. No,
feel like that could
wait.
be-
First, Togedemaru. Wait, Snom isn't dark and fairy. Don't fucking lie.
Oh! Okay.
Almost.
favorite.
Almost. It could have worked.
Sableye.
Oh.
Deoxys! Please,
All right, sorry, we
Deoxys.
have to do
Please,
Deoxys. We have to do
Deoxys.
Deoxys. All
I
right, this
love
is for him.
Deoxys. I love. Try Wooper Deoxys.
Oh, ooh. That's good.
That's kind of
That's
cute.
good. That's
kinda
good.
cute. Okay.
That's pretty solid.
I really like Wooper's face.
Wooper Space is very good. Hold on. I'm seeing
Yeah.
request for Combi, and I think that one's gonna be really good.
I think so too. I think y'all are on this.
Anyone with like multiple heads, honestly.
Oh,
Incredible. No notes. No notes.
that is stunning.
Have we done anything with Oddish yet?
No.
Oddish has a nice round body, so as long as the plant bit
Yeah.
stays on top, that's the only thing. If the
It
plant
should, it
bit
should.
doesn't stay, then ruined. But otherwise... Oh, perfection. That is perfect. That is absolutely that is... Oh, right. Joltik.
Oh,
Mimikyu
Joltik.
turned out really good. Wait, we got to go back to Joltik. This is for you, Will. Not that you're here.
That's cute.
Oh my god.
He's just a little.
I want to see the other way around too.
I
Not as good.
don't
Not
like
as
that.
good. Not as good.
I don't like that.
That's good.
That's cute.
That's good.
That is.
Execute has been tried and it's nothing but feels. It's so good. Oh,
Wait,
Jigglypuff.
Can you do
Hold
the
on.
giant executor?
Oh yeah, I will. But first, we got to look at Jigglypuff. That's good. That's pretty good. If the face were
okay.
straightened,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Oh, you can't do a Alolan.
No, but this is still gonna be. It would be funnier on the Alolan Executor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to random because we. Oh
Do it.
dear. Oh dear. That's awful.
I love Surskit.
The only thing I don't like is that it's adding Spheal's tail, and I
Yeah.
don't want the tail to be added. I just want it to be
Right.
that with that. Sviskit. Oh my god. Oh, there we go. Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh, with Pyroar.
Oh.
That's pretty. Look at like Spheal with that mane. That's pretty solid.
Not my favorite, I gotta say.
We can't do Clodsire because Gen 9 isn't active. Wait, what's gonna happen with Donphan? Yeah, you know what? I was kind of hoping that part would still be in front
For
for
sure.
comedy. But this does mean, hold on. That's awful.
Okay.
That's terrible.
A little bit.
Should have had the wings.
Ew, with all the arms.
Wait, Rockruff.
That's cute.
That's cute.
His
That's
face needs to be
cute.
smaller, though.
Yes, I agree. Grodel.
Whoop.
No. This is gonna be
That
good.
could be cute.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Can you change his color to, like, that magenta?
Let's see. Oh, no, I think this is just the background.
Oh, no, wait.
No,
oh.
this is just the background. No, stop. Don't give me ads.
You have to be a member.
Yeah, this is just the background, I think.
No, because you can change the color.
Wait, you're right. Okay, no, I don't want that. I just want.
No,
Hold on.
color scheme.
No, I know. I just right now it has a pattern, and I don't want it to have a pattern.
Oh.
Hold on. Let me do this.
Cute.
Okay.
Stunning.
Wait, that's good.
gorgeous.
Wait, that's good.
Gorgeous, right?
Yeah. Oh, Spiritomb. Oh.
Oh, that's cute.
That is the perfect Pokemon. That is so good. That is so good. That is so fucking good. Now I just need you to imagine.
Yeah.
You're fighting Cynthia.
Uh-huh.
She throws out her first Pokemon. It's Fatum.
You would have to give up.
You can't
It's
fight
too
that.
cute.
You can't fight that.
No.
You can't fight
You're so
that.
happy.
You can't fight that. Oh, yeah. Actually, let's do more Cynthia's team. Let's do Garchomp.
Wait.
Oh.
Can you do Garchomp and Reverum? Or whatever.
Reverum isn't here because we're
Oh,
on Gen 9
crap.
unlocked. I know we should have
Okay.
had our aces.
Oh, no.
Wait, I'm going here. Pokefusion Generator, Gen 1 to 8.
Codes.
Oh.
Enter all codes.
Okay, I'm seeing this. Enter all codes here. Unlock all here. I gotta join the Patreon.
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't want to join the Patreon.
That's cute, though.
I would otherwise. I would. That's good.
That's
That's
stunning.
good.
That's
That's
Stunning.
good.
Wait, can
That's
you do
good.
Bellsprout?
Yes. Wait, I want to do Blossom
I
after
know, I
this
was just
too.
about to say.
Oh, wait,
I was
hold
kinda
on.
hoping. Okay.
Oh my god.
Stunning.
Blossom. Oh, she's so majestic.
Look at her with her little skirt.
Look at her. Look at her. Look at her.
Oh, Sunflora.
No, wait, I'm
I
so
know, this
obsessed
is
with
stunning.
this.
This
I'm
is
so
stunning.
fucking obsessed.
Can you make her green? Make the blue green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, do the thing. It needs to
I
be a
think that
little more
fits.
vivid.
Yeah.
There we go. Like
A
kind
little
of
darker. Yeah.
a little more olivey. Yeah.
Stunning.
There we go.
Gorgeous. Beautiful.
Show stopping. Feel evolution. Oh, we can do that. Wait, what was the there was someone. Oh, I want to see Rotom.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Someone mentioned this one before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what? I see the vision.
I see the vision.
I enjoy it.
We do Sunflora. I feel like they were onto something.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotta get that to be yellow though.
Yellow. Cute.
Okay, yeah.
Cute.
Ice Cube. You're so right. You are so right. You are so right. Ooh, that one unlocks Mega Charizard X. Interesting.
Where did that code come from?
Yeah, where are y'all getting these codes from? Oh, that's not good. There was a space at the end to refresh the page.
Okay. Oh,
That's not Spheal. Okay.
that's kind of cute though.
Mega Charizard X.
Cute.
I wish it had the wings though.
For sure.
I wish it had the wings. I know. Now I kind of, but this is gonna be very silly. That's so terrible. That's
gave him the wings.
awful. That's awful.
That is awful.
That's awful.
The proportions
That's
are
awful. Mega Charfeel. That's the thing. Oh wait, hold on.
What? Mr. Mime. Cute.
Mr. Feel.
That's scary.
So that's the other secret of Mr. Mime is you
That's
do
frightening.
this. So stop it.
Yeah.
So it's Mr. Dawn.
Oh. Terrifying.
That's awful. Wait, hold on. I've been thinking of this one.
Yeah.
Shelmet's Feel.
Okay. Gorgeous. It's
Not
the same. That's cute.
Stunfisk. Oh my god. Stop it. Stop it. There we go. Would not
Cute.
hate stun. I would not hate this Stunfisk if I saw it in the wild.
No, I would not either.
Wait.
What?
Okay. Oh, I can't
Chikorita.
pick the styles.
Oh. That's cute.
Olay.
Ole.
She's perfect.
That's
I need the
gorgeous.
I need all the Oricorio unlocked. That's not fair. Ghastly. Ooh, wait. That's another orb.
Ghastly.
That's another orb.
Okay. Okay.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
I gotta see. I have to see
Yeah.
that face on the orb body.
Oh,
I don't hate it.
Wait, this is
I genuinely
This is
don't
one of my
hate
favorites.
that. I don't hate that. I do not hate
I feel
that.
like I don't like not hate it. I love it.
Yeah.
This is adorable.
Gas feel. Oh my god. Wait, let's do
Yeah.
wheezing. I always try to spell it wrong.
Cute.
Just the little guys. Wait.
Squeezing. Okay. Okay.
Sfakuno.
It's not
Wait.
bad.
This is gonna be awful. That's terrible.
That is terrible.
That's terrible.
That's.
Unlock Quaxley with Duckling? Yes, yes.
Oh my god.
Yes, yes.
Oh my god.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes!
Shut up. Okay. Let's see.
Oh my god, wait. No, this is gonna be terrible. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Wait, now we can do.
Well.
Peel and Quaxley.
Why?
Oh.
What the fuck? But
It
it's
is
not.
it like just.
Is it
locked
because
in
Gen 9
general?
is locked?
I think it is. That's a little messy. But what about Psyduck? You know, some other.
I'll do this. That's good. That's pretty good.
Cute.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Aki's Poke Fusions? I haven't. Oh, we did Doug Trio earlier. Not as good. Not as good. This was good.
That was cute. It's super cute.
Gulpin. Ooh. Wait, Wingull first. Hold on. That's not terrible. Because I accidentally clicked Wingull. Hold on. There we go. I don't hate it.
I kind of do hate it.
Oh, they were for Thursday Curse Day? But what if we did Happy? Oh, God. This is going to be good.
Oh. He buff.
He buff. Bisharp?
Okay. Manectric. Oh.
No. I don't watch White Lotus, do you?
I haven't.
Wait, with Pignite? That's
Okay,
good.
that's pretty cute.
good. Oh, I enjoy that.
It's giving like Studio Ghibli.
It is. Oh no. Oh no. Nah.
Wait. Can you do that, but like replace Spiel with Ghastly?
Fuck.
I like that.
I don't hate it.
There's something about his eyes. Just so cute.
Oh, you're so right, Ducklet.
Oh, okay.
I don't hate it. The bird faces on Spiel are always bad.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we have to do Suicune for you.
Sweet and so cute. Not the best.
I gotta do Camden's favorites.
Oh gosh, my baby.
Wait, the tails being gone is
Oh my
sad. That's sad.
That's a little.
That's so bad.
That's a little frightening. I don't know.
Oh,
how
we
I
didn't do
feel about
Vanillux. We didn't.
that. Oh. Vanilla. Oh, baby, when you talk like that. That's cute.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Wait.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cute.
Wait, let's try this one instead. I want to see all the faces. Mm.
Okay.
Wait, but I bet
Yeah.
this is good.
Oh,
That's really good. That's
just a little scoop.
really good.
that's cute. That's cute.
Oh, no, we haven't done
That's
Togepi.
Togepi.
Wait, that's so good. That's
That's
so good.
stunning.
That's so good.
Gorgeous.
That's so good.
Beautiful.
That is so good.
Okay, wait, what are some long neck Pokemon?
Fuck, what are long neck Pokemon? While you do that, I'm gonna do randoms. Oh, well,
that's
there's
a
one.
long neck Pokemon.
That's awful. I forget it happened. Oh, Furfrou, another long neck.
A Giraffe.
I
I was thinking kind of Giraffe.
Wait, Marshadow? I don't hate it.
This is not my favorite.
Dratini is long. Wait, nick it. Oh, but it's not the same
Dratini.
tail.
Wait.
Nah, it's cute if the
I love that
art
its
if the
arms
art
are
lined up. If the
Yeah.
art lined up a little better. Oh wait, this is just good. This is just good. No notes. Wait, try Guzzlord. Oh, we did Guzzlord, but it's
It was
worth
beautiful.
remembering. It's worth remembering Guzzlord. I just think it's worth remembering. Oh yeah, we should do Eevee.
Right?
If we're not doing some of the ones you guys are requesting, it's because we've already done them. Just so you guys know. That's good. Oh, wait, that's really cool. I can just click on the evolution.
Oh, hell yeah. Do Espeon.
There we go.
Oh,
Oh, wait, no,
Is it
it
evolving
can evolve.
still?
Yeah, no.
messy. Messy.
Oh, I bet that's going to be so good as just feel, though.
Cute.
I'm missing the little hair bits. I think if it had the hair bits still, that would be really good.
The face is just misplaced.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Whismer. We did not. Oh, we got to try Whiscash, too.
Cute.
That's good.
That's
That's good.
cute.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Hold on. Let's try Whiscash.
That's cute.
That's not as good as this.
I like it. That's cute.
Oh wait, no. I'm thinking. What's Lopunny's previous?
Baneri.
Baneri. There we go.
Baneri.
That's pretty good.
Ish. It's not my favorite.
Shaman.
Okay.
This is gonna be good.
Cute. I don't like it.
No,
Its hair looks like
it
Karen-y,
almost worked.
you know?
It almost worked.
Okay, I feel like what if like Wooper and Giraffe? Or Wooper and Dratini or something like that.
Let's do Dratini. That one was mentioned a while ago, and I forgot. Almost.
What about Dragonair? Do Giraffe.
Wait. No. Wait. I have to try all of these. Honestly, imagine Dracovish with Whisfeel. Wait. That's awful. I love it. That's so bad. That's so bad. Oh my god. Wait, this is gonna be good. That's fucking cute. This is gonna be so bad. Oh wait, Comfy. Wait, That's gonna be so good. I love
bad.
it. Alcremie. Yes. Almost.
Yeah.
Let's try Milcery instead. That's good.
That's pretty
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Wooloo.
Ooh, I feel like that would be cute with the fluff. I feel like it was cuter in my head.
Yeah, yeah. The tail is so stupid. Oh, thank you, Dank Turtle. Dank Turtle out here with the codes for us. That's a little executor. Dank Turtle, I need to go through everything you've sent right now. Hold on. Wait, messages. There we go. Mega Charizard, Duckling. Are any mega codes? Here we go. Mega Manectric and Mega Altaria. Those are the two that I was suggesting. Thank you, Dank Turtle.
Blastoise.
Wait, we will, but first.
Oh,
That's awful. Wait, I've got to see the other way.
horrendous. Oh,
You know, but like
Why does
it
that
weirdly works.
It-
Yeah, it
it really
weirdly
does
works.
work.
What the fuck? That weirdly works.
it feels seamless.
Yeah. like, yeah. I'm like, you could tell me that's a Pokemon, and I'd be like, oh yes, yeah, sick, of course,
Right.
totally.
That's
Huh.
crazy.
Okay.
Yeah,
we had. Bleh.
Stop.
That's good.
That's cute.
That's good.
I do.
That's good.
That's a good one.
That's good.
That's good.
The long, it didn't work as well with the short neck.
No.
With the long neck,
It's
that's
cute.
fucking iconic. Cottonbird from Mega Altaria. Oh, dang
my gosh.
Turtle, you are my fucking hero right now. Yes!
Mega outside.
Oh, Waylord, you're so real for that.
Oh.
I want to see this. Wait, the faces! No! Wait, now I gotta see Spiel with it. Because I bet the face isn't gonna turn upside down, and that's gonna make it so good. Oh my god.
Okay.
I don't hate it. Very majestic. I want some of the additional floof in there,
Yeah.
but otherwise, like, you know what? That's a vibe. That's a
Kind of
vibe.
a vibe.
It's kind of a vibe. The only thing I would do is I would brighten that.
For sure.
Oh,
Oh, not the shading.
there we go. There we go. That's
Okay.
great. And actually, wait, I now know what this is meant to be.
Yeah. Ah, it's the lighting.
It's that pinkness. There we go.
Cute.
That's good. I'm really good with Megasphere. Hold on. Let's make it Mega Altaria blue.
Oh, love.
It's a little more vivid. There we go.
Okay.
I love it.
I'm more on the fence with this one.
Mega Kangaskhan.
Giddy.
We don't have Mega Kangaskhan, but I can try regular Kangaskhan and see what happens, if it affects both faces or not. It does affect both faces.
Cute.
It does affect both faces. Oh my god.
That's
Yeah, wait, let's try Skitty.
again.
Oh, I already clicked the thing. I was gonna go Skitty.
Kitty. Cute.
Almost. It looks like something else. I don't know how to describe it. Daycare manager from Mega K, but it's super cursed. Honestly,
We love super.
honestly,
Curse.
we gotta try it. We gotta try it.
For sure. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's a problem. That's a problem. What about the other way around?
Oh.
Wait,
Oh.
that's a vibe. Wait, that's a fucking vibe.
His face is quite nice.
No, but no. Well, you know, we tried. Okay. We're going to hate this. All right.
Do it.
No, the baby doesn't have a face.
That's a little scary.
Oh my god. Wait, Ditto, you're right. This is going to be good in both directions. That's amazing.
Okay.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You can literally combine anything with Ditto.
No, I know. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm more interested in Whooper's face.
That's fair. Let's do Whooper.
Okay, I want to see Whooper with like long neck shit.
Okay. So we're going back to Mega Executor, right?
We could, yeah.
Oh, wait, not Mega. Alolan Executor.
Okay, that's not my favorite.
It almost worked.
Oh,
no.
this would be.
Aw.
It didn't
Wait.
line up too great.
I hate that. I hate that. We
Looks
must
so
remove
scary.
that immediately.
So scary.
Wait, how's this one gonna work? No. Where's the face gonna be? No.
Not my favorite. Oh, could be. No.
It's
some
not
of these are
lining
not-
up. But wait. That's powerful. It's not lining up super well,
no,
but it's
it's
still
not.
powerful. I don't think the Whooper face works super well with this generator.
It's lining.
Let's try
up
Rotom.
weird.
Yeah, it's not working as well, which is a shame. Because,
No.
like, it should be.
Whooper's face is gorgeous.
It's perfect. It's a perfect face. But. Oh, Lucario. We haven't done that one yet. Oh, Whooper and Ditto will probably work. Not quite.
No, it looks
Hold on.
wrong.
Whoop.
Whoop! There it
And-
is.
Ditto.
Diddor.
That's
So
beautiful.
cute.
And. That's so bad.
Stunning.
This is good. This is so good.
His face brings me joy.
Oh my god.
You know.
Let's go back to Spheal ones. Because Spheal is just the Spheal one is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
We'll do Absol. Oh. I don't hate it.
It's not my favorite. Not my favorite.
No.
Which was like
I
my
feel like-
favorite?
Hold on.
I feel.
Maybe.
Eh.
No. I was gonna see if that did it. No. Spheal and wait, this is gonna be so bad. Smeargle, let's try that. Oh, it removes the tail part. That's the important part. That's horrible. That's horrible. That's horrible.
That's horrible. That's horrible. That's That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's so 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 bad.
We should change it. It's a little haunting. Oh my god.
Wait,
Yeah,
this is gonna be
that
good.
one.
This is gonna be good. This is gonna be. Yeah!
Yes!
Yes! Yes! Yes! Yes!
That's better.
Yes! Yes!
Wait, can you switch them? Can you switch them?
Wait. No one's requested Pikachu. We'll have to try Pikachu. Wait. That's just making me think. That's just making. Oh, no. Wait, we're not doing that again. We're not doing that again. Wait. Jirachi.
Oh.
Wait.
That's a little terrifying.
Oh, almost. That should have worked so much better. Well, that should have worked so much better. Oh, no. I'm going to hate this. I don't like it. Oh.
That's kind of cute.
That's good.
actually.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
That
That's good.
fits.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Wait.
That's cute.
I don't hate that.
I like that.
I wish the hair had a better placement,
A little bit.
but
More of our favorite Pokemon.
more Pico. Oh, fuck. I can't type.
More Pico.
Oh. What does the Camden Allegra Fusion look like? It looks like Milo.
Can someone clip that?
I can't get it. My arm is bad. I
Oh
can't get it.
no! Do you need
Wait,
it?
that's
Do you
fine.
need help?
Yes, my blood. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
Wait. I want
We
that
gotta,
ring.
we gotta try.
That's
We gotta try.
so-
No!
Oh!
I don't.
That's cute.
I don't
Wait, no,
hate it.
I actually really like that.
I don't hate it. I wish I had the tail that. Wait.
That's kind of cute.
I kind of dig it. If it, okay,
Dude.
if that face were sized like Spheal's face,
Yeah.
that would be so good.
I really like how big the tail is in comparison to the body.
Well, I'm gonna message it to you.
Oh my gosh.
The more the merrier. First round's on me. Oh wait, oops.
Oh.
Wrong thing. Sorry. Ah.
That's so funny.
No, stop. Hold on.
Copwe?
Copwe?
Pastwe?
There we go.
Yay. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Spheal plus Raichu. Oh, happily. Yeah, put you.
You pulled Acheron?
Nice.
Congratulations.
Nice,
oh my
Kengar!
God.
Sorry, I'm never on Twitter anymore. That's really good. That's
That's
really good. Now imagine it had
so
the little tail too.
cute.
If it had the little
That's so
tail.
cute.
Oh my god.
I love that.
That's so good.
be the other way.
I like that.
I don't like it as much as the Pikachu one. I think the positioning of the cheeks put it in a slightly weird spot. Yeah,
are a little too long.
Yeah.
but
If it
aside
were
from
it
that-
were tiny sphere size like that,
I
that would be a
know.
lot better.
But
The feet are
I like
weird.
the tail. I like the tails.
This
of these.
one is so good.
That's
though.
cute as
That is
fuck.
so good. That's the strongest. That's
think
That's stronger
so.
than Pikachu. The parallel
think
pairs.
so.
I have the
just-
parallel pairs keychains on the Pokemon Center. Wait. I'm gonna show you. Because I never told you what I got for everyone.
No, you didn't.
Okay. So, okay.
They're so cute.
So this is like a combination of different things. So we're gonna go to Poke Plush first.
Plush.
Oh, the CP ones are
Cute.
sold out.
Oh.
Oh, 7-inch. That's new. Wait,
That's cute.
I haven't
That's
seen that
cute.
one. Look at the baby.
Zillion.
Oh,
my gosh.
wait, they've got the family of 4 Mousehold now?
Not the
Oh, fuck. Wait, I think this is a different, hold on. If I just go to Plush.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah, this is what I was looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so this one,
Cute.
but I have this one. It's
have it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, cute. Oh my gosh.
I got it from Japan. I saw it in Japan and I went,
You
oop! I got it immediately. So, oh, they did a restock of some. Okay, so they're doing restocks, but what I need them to do is I need them to restock Joltik. Because we have a friend who loves Joltik and I need to get it for them.
For sure.
Okay, no, just show me all the plush. Just show me all of them. I just want to see. Shop all plush. Here we go. Okay.
Oh, plush.
Shop all, please.
Oh, I'll take one.
All.
of
There we go.
each.
There we go. So that's very
Wait,
good.
oh my gosh.
I love that Eevee. Wait, I'm trying to show you specifically. Okay. I
the mouth.
got this one for me and Mina. Because
That's
Vulpix is her favorite, and I
cute.
love Alolan Vulpix so much.
Okay, I love that.
That's
you
for me and
guys.
Mina. Don't tell her.
No.
And where is? Oh, it's sold out, so I have to pull it up here.
Mm.
Oh, I also got this for Mina and this for
Okay.
me.
I love those.
And then I got. Let me see if it's on this page or not. If not, I'll go to.
And get the Chikorita for Molly.
No, because I know what she's gonna do. I got this for Dawn,
Cute.
and I had to like special work with. I
Oh
got
my gosh, that's
that when
so
it sold out,
cute.
so I had to buy it in the UK, and they're sending it to me.
I love that.
It's the only way I could get it because if I tried to
Yeah.
go to like Mecca Japan and do it, it was like $80, and I
Oh.
was like, and like eBay was also like $70.
Insane.
Where doing it this way and having them ship it to me was $40, and I was
For
like, that's
sure.
better.
For sure.
The Raichu is really good.
That is cute.
And then so you guys can see it. For Molly, I got her the Finian because the color scheme reminds me, and the little butterfly wings on the Finian reminds me of Zila.
And it's a fish.
And it's a fish. That's the most important part. And then also got her the little Butterfree.
That's cute.
Since we know that's her government-assigned Pokemon.
Yes, it is.
It is Papillusion.
But Papillusion. That sounds so
Yes.
cute.
Now,
Yes.
you will be unsurprised to know
Love a good sweet. Oh my god.
it's back in stock. So
Is it really?
I ordered it for you.
I've been waiting for this dance feeling song.
Wait, I really should have bought this for Christian.
What the kid is so cute.
Yeah, I was like, because I'd gotten that for Rochelle like a long time ago.
Aw.
And it was
It's
out of
so
stock. When I
cute.
found out how much you love Spiel, it was out of stock. So when I saw it was back in stock, I was like, shut the fuck up. Christmas Feel is back in stock?
Thank you so much. It's
Now, I
so
know, it's
cute.
that one over there.
Just so everyone can see.
Yeah, it's the real to scale over
official.
here.
Gorgeous. Look at him with the little cane and the hat.
So
and the
dapper.
So
Oh wait, they have little. Oh my God! Wait, they've got Christmas ornaments. They've got Spiel on an ornament.
that's cute.
That's good. That's good for Camden's. Let's see who else is on it.
Oh, that's
That's good.
cute.
That's good. That's good.
that's
It
cute.
won't get bigger. It won't
gosh.
get bigger.
Yeah, it
I
will
tried.
Let it get
I
bigger.
tried. That's good. That's
That's
good down there. That's
cute.
good. That's good.
And honestly, the Pikachu one's cute too.
It's good.
just
They're
by
all
itself.
good. You get a set of 12, so you're
Okay.
getting the whole thing.
Nice.
But hold on. I'm
What
gonna
else
try
is this?
winter. I just want to see like what.
We love a good winter section.
Oh, wrong one. But
Huh.
oh, it's a postable. I get it.
Ah.
Coaster.
That's cute. The Pikachu's so cute.
Hold on. If I look up,
Ooh,
You know what,
the
I'm gonna
green throw blanket, the gradient.
you know what? I'm gonna look up holiday instead, cause I know
Holiday.
that's Camden core right there. Look at that fue coco hot coco, coco for coco,
Wait, that's adorable.
coco for coco.
Dude. Okay, so when I get rich and when I get a mansion,
Yes.
I'm gonna have a hot cocoa station, and I will find that sign.
Fue
and put
coco,
it
hot
there.
coco,
Yeah.
coco for coco.
Wait, that's so cute.
Oh, that's like a little snow pommy. Aw.
That's cute too. The
Little train
wooden countdown
station.
calendar.
Yeah, that's cute.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Dear. Okay. Oh, that's cute. A little plush
So
bouquet.
cute.
That's cute. Oh,
Cutie.
look, they're singing.
Cutie
I didn't
patootie.
know that existed. Oh, like little ski signs. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. And it's got fue coco coco.
That's cute.
That's so cute. Oh my god. Oh, you're cute. Wait, look at that throw.
That's
That's cute. Oh, the Glaceon. Like, oh, you just ski school.
Precious. Stunning.
These are good. These are good. Oh, look at
The
that.
munchlax.
That's good. But look at that Eevee throw.
The pillow.
Hi, cutie. Oh, the tree skirt.
So cute.
That's so good.
The winky.
Oh my god.
Ah.
Cutie,
What's
you have
up,
to look at this.
Christian?
You have to look at this. This is so good.
The Fue Coco sign is amazing.
What? Yes, we just haven't set it up yet. It's over here, though.
yeah.
You have to look
What's
at
up?
this.
What's up? How you doing?
Actually, whoops.
Hey. Oh, how you doing?
Good.
This is actual Pokemon store merchandise.
Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Gorgeous, right?
Oh, that's really great.
Fue Coco hot coco.
Did you go, 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 go? Wait.
Hey, look at his little
Wait,
hat.
show him the fusion generator.
Oh my god.
Isn't it precious?
Shoo.
Spichu. Wait, what were some of the, like, the perfect ones? Wait, hold on.
Oh, we closed the door.
Oh, did you not close?
I have to take my keys out and stuff, but my hands are full.
Wait, what else did you get? Other than that bag. I know you brought a bag with you.
It was the bag that I took this morning.
Oh.
That's pretty cute.
Oh, boy.
Look.
Scooter.
What were some of the ones that we... Whoop.
What's the pink one that's kind of like a bunny?
Oh,
It's like
Whismer.
Whismer, yeah. I think that one was a cute one, right?
Smurf.
That's cute.
Smurr. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was a strong showing. A strong showing. Strong showing.
Storm.
Strong showing. Wait, we never looked at Chinchino. Oops.
Oh.
That's good.
Oh.
Wait, do Ghastly. The curse
Oh,
one.
the
It
Ghastly.
was a little curse, but like in a fun way.
The Spiritomb one was really good, though.
Yeah.
Hold on.
No.
Seriously, that's good.
Oh,
No, other way around.
Oh, right. This was...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Cute.
That's perfect.
Wow.
Don't
That
say,
is-
oh God, that's perfect.
That-
I said wow. I stand by wow.
right.
That's awful.
Oh, boy.
Oh my God, this is perfect.
That's cute.
Wait. Wait. Oh, it's missing the flower though. Let's see what happens when we do it the other way around.
Wait,
Oh,
what
boy.
was
What?
what was the really bad?
It didn't. Oh, I see. Ooh.
Wait, do you remember the really bad one? I don't know what it's called.
Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. Fuck. Artist Mon.
Oh,
Smeargle.
Smeargle.
I'm sorry. You guys have to see it again.
ooh.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's strong.
It's so
Strong
bad.
call.
It was so bad.
Oh, Iggly Puff.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one was scary too. There's something about its eyes.
Because you go here, you're
you're
like,
like, so
yeah,
cute.
that's perfect. That's so good. That's so good. That's so
And
good.
then-
Oh, no.
Oh no, is it
Oh, no.
right?
Oh, yeah, Magneton was good.
Magneton was really good.
Magneton is going to go as exactly the way you think it is, and that makes it perfect.
Gorgeous.
Oh god, so many fails.
Gorgeous.
What?
Right?
Done. It's done.
I'm sorry. You keep saying, oh, God.
Yeah, it's kind of a neutral reaction.
No, but your reaction is supposed to be positive.
It's still shocking.
Right.
Even
To
if
every-
it's
no,
positive,
it's supposed to
still
be-
shocking.
No, but like it should be like, oh God, yes, yes. I see. We yell yes. No, we have
Oh
to show
my
you.
god. Wait, yeah, show him that one.
Hold on.
Terrifying Tuesdays, weekly Wednesdays, Freaky Fridays.
Oh, is that
Oh,
Freaky Fridays. Okay.
oh, I think
Are
your
you
Twitch is
talking
open.
over you?
Saturdays.
I feel like I'm
Yes.
talking over me.
Yes.
Yeah, just
There we go.
okay. Wait. Push it back.
Wait, hold on, because you've got this one too.
Okay.
Fixed it. All right.
All right.
Wow. Astounding.
And then you wonder why Milo likes Camden so much.
No.
Twins.
I think we do the same thing. Over. Oh. Wait, we never looked at this.
No.
Horrifying. That's awful. That's so bad. That's so bad. No. No.
That's
No.
funny.
Oh god.
No, it gets worse whenever I look at it.
That's
Why does it have nipples? Wait, that is Mike Wazowski's younger brother. You're right for that. Hold on. Random. Oh, this one. We did this one before.
so cute.
Honestly,
He's like a puppy.
a vibe.
Don't.
I wish it were better.
Yeah.
Oh, Tapu Bulu.
Oh.
Ah.
Oh, the Guzzlord.
Oh, Guzzlord was good. Guzzlord was good. Guzzlord was really good.
Guzz. Oh wow.
That's cute.
Ah.
Same yelling, just calmer.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Let's try Scatterbug.
Scats.
Aw.
Aww. Wait.
Oh, Swablu. This one was good.
Aw. That was just Swablu.
It's just so good.
It's so
It's
good.
just so good. It's so good. Oh,
What?
Blacephalon. That's the one we caught earlier.
Oh. Oh.
Wait, she's fancy.
Wait.
She's
the color.
fancy.
Oh my god.
Blacephalon.
You know what it reminds me of? You know the kind of like the Mariah
Ice
Carey
Cube was
meme
good.
of like I drink water with lemonade.
Wait. Oh, it's because it's. I started typing the wrong
Oh,
thing.
that's cute. That's
Aw.
cute.
Wait,
Hopping.
now I'm thinking about Poltergeist.
Poltergeist
I don't hate it.
and the living days.
Flygon, Flygon, Flygon.
What about Phalanx?
Phalanx was a little mid, honestly. Yeah. Wait, we gotta go. Oop.
Wait, try reversing it.
Aw.
Wait, the wings are so small. Wait, that's
That's kinda
funny.
funny.
Wait, that's really funny. Like, I hate it, but it's also really funny.
Kind of.
Wait, Fanpy. Almost, but I bet this is good. Ah, it's not bad. She's trying.
Well,
Have you ever wondered what it would be like for there to be two of me?
yes, this isn't exactly what I pictured, but I'm still happy about it.
Oh no, I did both random. I don't want that. Yeah. I don't hate that.
That's cute.
Wait, we have seen Oshawott. Wait, babe, come back for Oshawott.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, that was
He's probably in the living room. He's not.
Nope.
Please come back for Oshawott.
Oshawott's cute.
No, he's. Oh, he could be underneath.
Cute.
Yeah, wait. I wonder if he is underneath. Hold on.
Squeeze it.
Yeah.
Is my down here?
Oh.
No. No, there is no boy.
No boy.
No.
No boy. Where
No
is
boy.
the boy?
Damn.
Is he an under the bed boy?
Oh.
No. You sure he's not a behind the TV boy?
Yeah.
He likes hiding there, or he could be.
In the crafty
Oh,
room.
he's an on the couch boy.
Cute. Cute. I want to see what it would look like if we made this more.
Who are you thinking?
I just want to change the color of that a little bit.
No.
Eh,
No.
I like that one.
Oh, night, Nico.
Chest
Nico,
fit.
Nico, Nico. You just press it there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's
It's
pretty
kind
good.
of cute.
That's pretty good.
Not gonna lie.
Wait, do another random up there. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
press random up there. Oh no. Phew!
Actually, I think that's kind of
Wait.
cute.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
That's cute.
Ow. Goes doing that.
Why is that cute?
Babe! Clef key and Spiel. Clef key and Spiel.
That's cute.
Why don't you just show up when I summon you?
Applin. We're gonna try that
Ski.
next.
Ski.
Ski. He's actually really cute. Look at that.
That's pretty cute.
Gorgeous.
cute.
I kind of want to. I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oh boy.
you know,
That's a
not
nightmare.
what I
Please
was.
go back. Please go. No.
Yeah.
Put it back. Put it back. Thank you.
That's cute. Hold on.
Applin, yeah.
Applin. I'm curious about the reverse of this.
Aw.
It's the same.
This is gonna be good.
That's just a. That's
This
just an apple.
this sparks joy.
That
this,
is insane.
this is lovely. This is nice.
Oh yeah, Voltorb is just blue orb with face. It's really good. Oh wait. Oh, you're switching that one out. Okay. No.
Pepper.
No. Oh, Woolen.
Okay, what's the other
What
one?
about the sheep?
Spiel and Snom we've already seen.
Okay. Well, who else?
No. Here. Here, just do a flip.
Flip it and reverse it.
Oh no, actually.
Oh.
Oh, wait.
I think it's just gonna be feel.
Yeah! We did it. Frost or something.
That's
I don't hate
cute. But what would this be?
That could have been worse.
That's kind of funny. This face is so scary. Okay, that has potential.
Wait. Now put Sfeel back.
Sfeel? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
that's cute.
no. Put Sfeel back. Yes. I don't hate it.
Well, I kinda
miss
want the ears.
I want the ears back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's good. Otherwise, that's good. Wait.
I
Put-
love this.
Put Woobat in instead.
Wait, no. This is adorable.
Wait, try Woobat. Try Woobat. It's pre-evolution.
Woobat.
Yeah, right there.
There we go.
Oh, it's my
That's cute. The fuzziness, the fluffiness.
Yeah.
Okay. That
I
yeah.
like the other way around.
I like the other way around too. That's cute.
That's so good.
The evolution of that
Wait,
is
try Chandelure.
great.
I think the more arms you put on the thing, the worse it gets overall.
No, that's great.
That's
no,
cute.
Honestly, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Cute.
That's good.
This might be cursed.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it has an energy.
For sure.
Yeah. Wait, do Chansey.
Oh. Cute.
You know what? I'll take it. Oh no. Oh, it tried.
It definitely did.
Yes. Oh my god.
Nice.
Do more random. Oh, we never did who.
Oh, that's
You know what?
cute.
That worked better. We did it with Woobat, and it wasn't as good.
Ew.
Oh god, no.
Oh!
Phenomenal.
No.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
Oh wait.
Oh, it's missing the
it's
fluff.
missing the fluff. If it had the fluff, that would have been so good. Oh.
Oh.
Oh boy.
It looks like it ingested something that's a little.
Yeah. Wait, lady.
Oh.
Wait.
That's
Wait.
cute.
Cricketune?
Cricketune. With a K. That's awful. That's awful.
That's actually what it sounds like.
That's so bad. That's terrible. Oh my god.
Go back and then put oh no. Can you put Venonat in instead? I think the people are right.
Cute.
That's
Not.
good. Svet. No, go back.
That's cute. Oh.
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 We go to Latios. That's not.
That's cute.
Wait, why does it say Sobble for Score Bunny?
Good question.
What?
It's kind of cute.
Oh, Delphox.
He looks like he
That's
runs an
such a good-
empire.
That's giving.
Wait.
That's weird.
Wait, that's good.
That's cute.
Really good. That's really good.
That's really cute.
That's not bad.
That's
That
kinda
wasn't as good.
cute.
The Bulbasaur's feel was strong.
Oh. There's potential with that. That's.
I don't hate that.
That's
in
cute.
The slightest. Oh no.
I know its eyes look kind of scary. I want to see what it looks like. That's terrifying. That's cute. He's fancy.
Oh yeah, we
Oh,
saw this
okay,
one
we've
before.
seen this one.
That's the strongest of them. I think.
That's cute. Oh, if the coloring was different. Oh,
No.
That wait.
Put it back. Oh, yes,
Oh.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cute.
Yes. Yes.
Cute. That's cute. He's just a little guy.
Oh, no.
Oh yes. Oh.
No.
Interesting.
It's missing the monkeys. Oh, wait.
Oh. Oh!
An angel.
That's stunning.
That's a baby. Sph Junior.
Mm,
Wait, no, go
not
back.
my
Go
favorite.
back. Sph Junior.
That's cute.
Sph Junior.
Jolteon.
Actually, that
Okay.
one I don't hate.
That- this one works
I
better.
don't hate one. Yeah, that's the best of the evolutions. we've seen so
Evolutions.
far.
Oh,
Anorith.
that's cute.
know how I
Is
feel
this
about
gonna
that.
be cute? it oddly
Put it
like
back.
kind of works. Oh, better than the other sword.
Better than Doublade. The way I would catch every fortress if it looked like that. Oh my god.
That's terrifying.
The way I would catch every single. Oh, this one's so good.
This one's cute.
Look at
Honeycombs.
Oh, if only the face lined up better. That's strong. Hate that. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back.
So bad.
That's good. No, that's so good. That was so good. Oh no.
Not my
Wait.
favorite. Oh. Oh!
Okay.
That's cute.
Okay, that's solid. Wait, go.
And just out of
flip it, flip
curiosity.
it. Oh, you know what? If someone drew it, it would be good.
This is cute.
No.
This is cute.
Oh yes.
Oh, this okay.
Oh wait, Spamime is good, but
No.
Mr. Eel
Mr. Eel.
is so bad. Mr. Feel is so bad. Mr.
That's-
Feel is so bad.
Quite bad.
Oh no. Oh wait.
Oh, wait.
Wait.
That
Wait.
works. That works. Oh.
No.
Works a
Back.
little less. That's
That's
cute.
good. That's
good.
good. Oh wait.
Okay.
Aw, wait, go back. Go switch it. Switch it. I want to see if it works out. That's so dumb. I love it. It's dumb. Wait, switch it. Switch it.
Cute.
I don't like it as much.
Has a little beard though.
Ah. Cute.
Sometimes it's missing the wings. Oh no. I hate it.
I kind of like it.
Oh no.
Cute. Oh.
No.
I want the reverse.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
No.
Oh, that's not as. Oh. This one's my favorite. This
Did
one's my
not
favorite.
win the evolutionary level.
This one. Not Grafeel. This is my favorite. This one wins.
Wait, switch it. Switch
This
it. I
one
want to see
wins.
Spiel's face on the boot. Wait. Can you put in Cutie Fly? Oh wait,
Oh.
wait. She's gonna serve so much cunt.
That's really disturbing. That's not
Wait.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I don't.
This is
I'm
good.
sorry. God does not.
This is good.
Arceus.
This is good.
Whoa, dude.
Wait, what did you want me to
I
do?
want so put
Spiel and Cutie Fly?
Yeah, because I love Cutie Fly. Yeah.
I wish it had
That's
the wings.
cute.
If it had the
If it had the
wings, it would be
wings.
perfect.
If it had the
If it had the
wings, it
wings,
would
it'd be
be perfect.
perfect.
Oh.
Aw, not as good. But if the wings were on that spiel.
Okay, but what was the other one? Crusty Crab?
Oh,
Okay.
crusty crab.
This is my favorite, I have to say. Where's my phone?
You're taking a picture.
I need to. It's stunning. Gorgeous, beautiful.
Powerful.
Computer lines, but beautiful. That's
my God.
gorgeous.
Okay. Oh no.
Eh. Okay, but
That's solid.
maybe.
Not as good as
Not as
Crucial.
good.
That's gonna be good.
This is, oh,
That's. I was
better in
thinking
my
it's gonna
head.
be a little better, yeah.
cute.
I dig that. You doing Chico?
Yeah,
You can't let Molly see it.
I know, right?
The crimes, the war
Like,
crimes
yeah.
she would do to
No,
this baby.
I hate that. It's kind of cute.
Chickafeel.
Oh, wait, that's gonna be good. Yes!
Aw,
Yes!
that's cute.
Yes!
That's stunning.
Yes!
That's stunning. It's
you know,
kind
I
of
don't
funny,
hate it.
but yeah, no, this is gorgeous, beautiful.
It almost works.
The clipping's a little weird.
About Mega
Okay.
Emperors.
Oh, we can't do most
Oh,
megas, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Okay.
It's a little too big,
It's
but I don't
definitely.
hate it.
You know,
Yeah, I
there's
don't
something
hate
going
it.
on
I don't
there.
hate it. It's Fable.
Okay. Oh, Sable.
No, I said Fable.
Oh, okay. Well, let me do Sable Eye.
Oh, right. You wanted to do this one before.
Yeah, someone was asking for it. Well, if you're still here, person.
Just flip it.
Oh. Wow. Oh.
Oh, we do Snorlax.
Okay.
Stop snoring. That's solid. That's solid.
That's
That's solid. Wait,
cute.
no, flip it. 'Cause
Yeah,
that face is gonna be
for
so
sure.
good.
Oh.
Pretty cute with the feet.
That's pretty good.
The feet are
That's
interesting.
pretty good. Oh, this
Oh,
one.
Shaman?
This one is. Turn it around. It's.
Turn
I was hoping that was
around.
gonna be so much better. you
The
know?
haircut looks kind of funky.
Seal and seal. Seal. Sea feel. Now you can tell we've been dating. Oh, I hate
Don't
it.
feel.
For sure.
Wait, this is gonna be good. Yes!
That's
That's
funny.
good.
That's funny.
That's good. Wait,
we
do
did
Zubat, 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 Zubat.
Zubat, Shubat, 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 Shubat.
I'm curious what the reverse is. It's a little scary.
Oh no.
It's a little
I'm sorry. I think we need to burn it.
for sure. That's cute.
That's good though. Oh no.
Oh yes.
No.
That's kind of cute.
No.
Well. Yep.
Anyone who's played Legends Arceus knows why I'm mad.
Let's just make it more like Spiel.
Please change it. Oh, not more. Oh, ew. Pincer's finally been improved.
Oh. Ooh. Let's see.
You have to erase
Oh.
it. So your singular brain cell looks like. Wait, go to Psyduck.
That's kind of
That's
cute.
Wait, the other way.
That's
I
cute.
gotta see this.
Not the
almost,
best.
Almost, but that was good.
Yeah.
They're so strong.
And this one was.
Oh, it's
This
good.
is
It's
so
so
cute.
Good. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's missing.
For sure.
Oh.
Oh, the baby.
There you go. There you go. There you go. That's
There
a
you
baby.
go. Oh. Oh. I mean, I don't hate
it.
that. Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, he's a tough guy. Oh.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
No, get rid of it. Oh yes.
Oh, wait, that's kind of
That's
cute.
good. Wait. Go do not to.
Not to. Okay.
After,
Wait, why is that stunning?
because it's the perfect face coming out of Santa Honda.
Do what? What do you want me
Not
to
to.
do?
N-A-T.
Oh.
That's the thing.
Uh,
Oh. That's
Cute.
good.
That's
That's
pretty
good.
cute. The baby.
Yes!
That's cute.
Good. You know, that's like the least bad
I mean,
of like the birds. Of the
kinda
birds
bad.
in particular. Mike's too close. Oh,
Oh,
is it?
oopsies.
He's too loud.
I'm
He's
too loud. Pikachu.
Not as good as the Raichu. Oh, Reshi. Not the Reshiram.
That's
Oh, Jolteon again.
okay. This
You
one,
get
wait,
Necrozma.
this one was good, I think.
Necrozma.
Yeah. Oh, I think it went too fast. We tried that. We tried that.
We didn't
didn't
do
do that.
Samurott, though.
Okay.
Oh!
Let's see what that looks like.
What happened to you? Sweet angel, what happened to you?
Gorgeous.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
That works.
That's good.
That works very well, actually.
Purple. You know what? Excellent.
What? Excellent.
Excellent.
Not bad.
Oh, we did
Oh,
Amarant
this is
already.
stunning. Stunning. Gorgeous.
Oh
Oh, yes.
no. Reverse it. Reverse it.
Okay. Oh, shit,
Oh.
shit, shit.
Oh no, wait, no, it's gonna be so
Wait,
good. It's
Teddy
gonna be so
Ursa,
good.
Teddy
It's gonna be so
Ursa.
good.
I was wondering about this. Oh.
An attempt was made. Yeah, man, almost. Almost. Oh,
With the
wait,
little
reverse
clip
it, reverse
they
it.
Eh.
Aw. Pachirisu. Oh, it's missing the
Aw.
tail.
It doesn't like the Oh.
That's like
Wow.
20 head right there, honestly.
For
Oh,
sure.
Sunflora, yes.
Beauty. Wait, I'm curious. Oh.
You know?
Interesting.
She's slaying.
Interesting. Electric. Oh, Blossom was cute. Bless you.
Yes, she's perfect.
So perfect.
Oh no.
What is this? Oh.
Okay.
Wow. Cute. Tentacruel.
Cruel.
Okay.
The Tom.
Oh.
It's cruel. Perfect.
That's beautiful.
Perfect.
Gorgeous pose.
Oh no.
Oh yes. That's kind of
It's
iconic.
messy. It's kind of messy.
Kind of iconic.
Oh boy.
Oh. Okay, you
Wait,
know
I need to see
that
the reverse.
that really that
I
that
need
kind of
to
works.
see the reverse. It's like it's that but
Wow.
short.
It is.
It
yeah.
is.
I feel like they did a good job with that.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
That's cute.
Oh, wait till Louisville faces. Oh, wait, the little
That's
Othersville faces.
cute.
Good. Wait. Oh, yeah. Good.
Okay,
No.
not my favorite.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I mean, that could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
It really could have
It
been
could have
worse.
been much worse.
I'll even
this
you
one.
guys.
Oh. You know, not what I was expecting, but I'm not mad.
I mean,
at
I was
this.
expecting
I was,
wings.
I was expecting wings.
Right.
too.
Please reverse it. Please reverse it. Likewise, not
Not what
what
I
I
was
was
expecting.
expecting at all, even.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we liked
And
this
we liked
one.
this,
Yeah,
and that one's
they're
cute as
good.
fuck. Oh,
Lip bug we didn't do.
cute.
Oh
but
god,
what
the eyes are
if
gonna be crazy. You know?
That fits.
You know, the scaling worked.
The scaling
worked.
I was a little worried, but we're good.
Same.
I think we did. Oh, kitty. No tail. You already
I missed
know.
the tail.
I know.
But that's gonna be.
Oh.
It's when the face is too low, you know?
This is glorious.
Please reverse it. Please
This is
reverse it.
glorious.
Oh no, I fear.
Eh,
That has an energy.
not as stunning. Cute.
Wait, yes, spoink.
Spoink?
Spoink.
Okay.
SPO. There. Yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
this is gonna be cute.
Oh, the little. But that's still
tail.
perfect.
That is
That's so
cute.
good. Now let's see.
Oh. This is cuter.
Yeah, if the tail had been on this, that would be
That is cute. I love the arms.
genuinely perfect. Yes, again. It's just all his face.
Stunning. Beautiful.
Ah, let's see. What would be? Oh, I liked this one.
The reverse.
Oh, it was the evolution.
Oh.
I don't hate that at all.
Right.
Oh boy.
Oh, not what I was expecting, but I think it.
Spheel and
still-
Sinisty. Let's do 5 more and then
Yeah.
call it.
I think so.
That's good.
This is good.
That's so good.
That is great. A
Oh,
little less
not
great.
so much the other way around, but that was good.
Any other?
Any other special requests? As long as we haven't done Bidoof, 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 Bidoof.
That works for me.
We did Togedemaru before.
Haunter. I know someone had
Haunter,
asked
we have to
about
do that. Wait,
Haunter
please reverse
before.
it, please reverse it, please reverse
Eh.
it. It has an energy. Okay, Haunter. I'm pretty sure we did Togedemaru, didn't we? And Doublade.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, the face is gonna be funny.
Not as funny
not
as
as-
Ghastly.
Yeah, Ghastly was really
Ghastly
good.
was iconic. Corsola.
Corsola, and I want to do Buzzwole as well because that one is going to have an energy.
Oh fuck!
No,
the corals.
yeah, the coral got cut off.
Oh.
It really lost a lot of its coral.
It lost a
and
lot of the
that's a shame.
personality.
Buzzwole.
Azurill.
Buzzwole. We can't do Alolan forms. I'm sorry.
That's kind of fun.
That is the greatest Pokemon I've ever seen. This is gonna be upsetting. That's awful. Please go
That
back
is
to the original.
awful.
Yeah, this is like that Spheel hit the fucking gym. Hold on,
That's-
don't change it yet,
okay.
babe. You need to look at this one. This one isn't swole. It's swole.
Oh Christ!
Fool. Yeah.
That needs to stop going to the gym. It's the gym.
I feel like we've seen someone like this at the gym. You know, like I feel like someone at our gym looks like this.
The guy who one of our friends is convinced is the guy who deals drugs.
I don't think I've seen that guy.
No, maybe not.
Isn't he normally there in the afternoon or?
Well, he's in every time I go in the morning, and then the few times I've had to go in the evening, he was also there. So either he's haunting me, or he's always there.
You'll have to point him out if we're ever there at the same time. I need to know who's this one who suspiciously may or may not do drugs.
Deal drugs.
Azurill, yes. Azurill. This is gonna be so cute.
Aw.
Oh, I wish
It's
the
missing
tail had
the
been the
tail.
thing.
Oh, why
Oh
is this
no,
so
that's
sad?
really good.
Oh,
That's
good baby.
really good. That's really good.
Oh, gosh. This is an
Unexpectedly
good.
good.
I love this. It's good.
Yes.
Look at his
Look
arm.
at it, baby.
Okay. All right. I thought it was different.
No.
I was taking it from a distance.
Oh no.
Less good.
That's less good. Okay, let's do 2 more random ones and then we're
Okay.
gonna call it.
Sounds good.
Oh dear. What I want to see is I want to see the Heliolisk with the meh form when its
Right.
face is out like the frills are out like that. I want to see this field face in the middle, but they don't have that. Oh, Electra
we
we've
did
already
that.
seen. We'll do one more.
We did
Woobat we've
that.
seen.
We did
Glameow we've
that.
seen.
We
Xerneas
did
we've
that.
done.
Wow, we've
Lucario we've done.
We've done
We haven't done Embor.
pretty much them all.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Well.
Wait, let's do one more. I feel like
This
This
one
is
is a
gonna be
good
good.
one.
yes, that's
Cute.
solid. That's solid.
But what about this? A little terrifying. Not gonna
That's
lie.
awful.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
We'll put Ditto up as the last one because it is very funny.
That's good.
That's good. That's a good one to end on. Well, thank
Yeah.
you
Oh my
guys
gosh.
for joining us.
We had a
I
blast.
wonder if Mina is still live here. I'm gonna have you over here leave stream together. Then we're gonna go to Twitch. See if Mina's still live. She is not, and
No.
she didn't rate us. Okay.
That was messy of
That
her.
was messy of her, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
Mina went eep. Yeah, and she didn't rate us. Yeah, we can raid Ruby. Great. Well, thank you guys for coming by. This was good.
This was a
This was
blast.
good. Hold on,
This
wait.
was
What was the
great.
other way around again?
It was fun.
It's very stupid. It's so good.
They're
Wait, hold
so
on.
great.
There's one thing I have to do before we
Yes.
go. I'm going to enjoy this.
Hell yeah. Oh.
That's so dumb. Oh no, that doesn't work as well as feel.
No, it doesn't.
Oh no. Wait, well, let's just go back to feel Shawat.
Feel sure.
This one didn't work as well. This
No.
one's good.
That's
yeah, this is my
That's
happy
cute.
place. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are going to just send you off and then go, like, I don't know, watch it or whatever. But yeah, I'll see you from my new computer next time I
Hell
stream.
yeah.
It's sitting over there.
I
We have
cannot
to-
wait for this for you.
I am really excited. This has
Yeah.
been a long time coming. I'm gonna be able to
It's-
play Lethal with fewer problems.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, thanks guys, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, raid and bye.
Bye.